He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Korgan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Randy Korgan, Worker Power Hour. KCAA KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. See, my longtime organizer, first-time radio host, I got my first hitch in today's show right out the gate. I had a little boo-boo there. Hopefully everybody will give me a little bit of a pass, seeing that I'm such a rookie for this. And as a user have heard me say before, I'm going to claim rookie status for like 2 years, 3 years, maybe 4. I'm going to carry it as long as I can. And then I'll say sophomore blues when I make mistakes after that. But good to have everybody listening. Last week we had these amazing workers on from Coachella Valley Water District. Hopefully they're listening in again this week, because we're actually going to have, at the back half of the hour, the organizer that's been working with them this whole time on the show as well. And they will be voting tonight at 6:30 tonight, from about 6:30 to about 9:30, on whether or not they want to become Teamsters there with the Coachella Valley Water District, which is about 435 workers that do very, very important work. What was really cool on last week's show, as I always start out every show, is just do a quick recap of the previous show, is hearing the stories of what they do, the job they do. Buffy, kind of explained how her job's like the 911 operator for water, and that's like really important job. One of the things we joke about all the time, and it was good to see it come out on the show, was firefighters. We love our firefighters. We love police officers. We love all our public safety officials. But guess what? A firefighter cannot fight a fire without the water people making sure the water gets there. So, I hate to say it, but the water people are a little more important than a firefighter. Otherwise, the firefighter's got to drag around a big old tank of water with them on top of it. And so, again, not to minimize a firefighter's job, but we want to make sure that those that do these really important jobs are recognized and how important they are in the field every single day. And today's day, we take it for granted that we twist we turn a little knob on and water magically comes out and lands in our sink or in our toilet. It never started out that way to begin with. And so having them on the show here and having them go through an organizing drive where they want to be represented by the Teamsters has been this amazing journey over the last 7 months. And it's been great to work with them. And it was good for them to be on the show and share their experience and share, hey, Trish, you can come in and sit down right there on that couch. But pretend like it's counseling. Or it's the principal's office, one of the two. I just had somebody come in the show. Just obviously, listeners can't see what's going on, but it was great to hear their reasons for wanting to organize. And what was the best message that came out of it was that they want that sense of camaraderie and how they come back together and they enjoy each other's company. They're working together, putting down their differences and doing the best they can to make sure that the community and their employer and everybody respects the job that they do. And, at the end of the day, regardless of sometimes how much we get paid and all the compensation, just having respect and dignity is probably the most important thing that we can expect, in exchange for our labor. And so to hear them talk through the importance of that and for them to hear them talk through the relationships that they're rebuilding or the relationships that they're building by working together was a lot of fun. They were, as many guests are, they were a bit nervous at first, but by the time they were done, I think we had half, if minimum, Rock's in here too, I'm going to have her at the other side of the hour. Rock, I would say more than half of the water district was listening. And then we actually had a caller call in right when the show concluded, and I took a call from the water district right there at the very end, but it wasn't on the air because we had already gone off the air. But, to have out of that 435, we had to have at least 250 listeners from the water district listening in live last week. So big shout out to them, especially if you're listening in right now, because I think a bunch of them are listening in. I don't know if Rock let the cat out of the bag and they let them know that she was going to be back on the air, or that she was going to be on the air. Knowing Rock, she didn't do that. But again, great show last week. It was great to have them on, and my team and everybody will be down in Coachella here tonight, obviously awaiting the vote count and anxiously awaiting that positive outcome for those workers. And so next part of my show, I now start to do shout-outs. I think I got some new shout-outs coming in right now that I got to take a quick look at. But the first one is apparently all the Redlands stewards are listening in live. And, hey, I got a couple of them actually sitting right here. Hopefully I'm not getting you guys in trouble. And I've got James Estrada, who felt left out last week because, we kept talking about him and bringing him up, but he wasn't actually here. And then we have Daniel Malberger here. So thanks for being in here. And all of you Redlands stewards, thanks for listening in. We also have Veterans Affairs Department for our membership listening in live. Thanks for sending that in, Rommel. And then we have Yesenia listening in, and Beatrice Garcia out of Public Health. They're amazing shop stewards, by the way. I know them both very well, and thanks for listening in live, you two. You guys are a tremendous asset to your membership that you represent, and obviously the organization as a whole. Let's see. Oh, and Montclair is in bargaining right now. Montclair with Carlos Gonzalez is in bargaining right now at the table. First day of bargaining. They brand new Teamsters just came on board about a little more than a month ago. So it's good to see that team of workers join the Teamster family. And hopefully some of them are listening in on a little break while they're bargaining for a new Teamster contract. And then the next part of the show is Teamster Jobs. I got a really unique one right out the gate here. A lot of people really like this. I think it's one of their favorite parts of the show is hearing the unique things that Teamsters do. Brentwood Originals in Los Angeles. Now, what you may think, well, what do they make? What do they do? Pillows, indoor and outdoor pillows. So next time you put your head on a Brentwood pillow, a Teamster made it. And a Teamster made sure. So next time you're shopping for pillows, make sure you look for Brentwood Original pillows. Teamsters make sure that think about it. We do everything, including make pillows. Like, isn't that crazy? Good. Shout out to the 630 members in Los Angeles. That's the part of the production and distribution for Brentwood Originals. The next one is Revel in Palm Desert. It's actually a newly organized unit. These members service the retirement community in Palm Desert. They're cooks, service workers, and bartenders. Hopefully if they're not listening in live, they'll be able to listen to it afterwards. Just got them a good Teamster contract here. I think it was just a couple months ago. So new group there. Great to hear. And here's one of my favorites of all the jobs. A lot of people don't realize. Walker Foods. They make a lot of different things, but the one thing that you'll all recognize is the In-N-Out spread. So next time you have an In-N-Out burger with that In-N-Out spread, just remember a Teamster made sure that In-N-Out spread was made and was good and was fresh and was all that good stuff. And everybody loves In-N-Out burger. So good shout out to Baldwin Park, home of the original In-N-Out. Carlos is from Baldwin Park. So, he's like, hey, you need to give me a shout out to Baldwin Park. And again, always appreciate Carlos giving me those 3 Teamster jobs. I always look forward to it because I think he has a lot of fun with it. And I appreciate it because it's one less thing for me to try to do before I walk in the door and do this show. So next is news, current labor news. The first thing out the gate is, so many of you may have seen, heard, or read, Apple retail stores, many of them that have recently organized, just took a strike vote, and they're looking to get the employer's attention and say, look, if you don't get real about this bargaining, we're probably going to have a labor dispute. They're represented by IAM, which is the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. And, you get into this part and, it's a new industry to organize. And then the employer says, we're not going to play ball. And, so then the workers have to, I guess, muscle up a little bit here. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, they got to really just say, hey, look, we've taken a position and you're a huge corporation that makes a lot of money. And, we got some working conditions we want to sit down and have a discussion with. And some of the allegations around the unfair labor practices are, they're withholding benefits because people joined a union and interrogating workers and doing all the stuff, even though Apple wants to have this on the surface like we're this friendly company. One of the things that we get to learn in the labor movement is how companies really act, because we get to see them in their most intimate settings. We don't really always talk about the negative things that they do, but Apple's up to no good, and they're going to be held accountable. So, congratulations to those workers for taking that next step, and we're rooting for them, and hopefully they ultimately get a new contract here pretty soon. The next is, hopefully I don't mispronounce this, NEBUS. Cannabis wholesale workers join Teamsters in California. And so Teamsters Local 630 has just organized a group of those workers in L.A. They're bud tenders in 2 L.A. marijuana stores. They voted to join Local 630 last week, and this also includes drivers and warehouse workers. And, if any industry, think about this, any industry needs unionization, it's actually cannabis, and here's why. Some people say, oh, it's a new industry. Well, that's exactly why it needs. Think about the alcohol industry and compare it 100 years ago to what you had individuals doing that had a lot of money that were trying to control the industry. It actually took regulation to prevent that industry from, being really, really bad. And there's a lot of regulatory factors around how alcohol is manufactured, distributed, and sold to prevent an abuse in a system like that. And so when you talk about cannabis, you have something very similar where it's really important here in the beginning of something becoming legalized. Think about it. Let's say 20 years ago, I guess when we were kids, wherever you got cannabis from it's all illegal, right? So you have what was in the illegal market become legal. So you have a lot of people that are trying to become legitimized, I guess, and they may not understand the habits of being legitimate. And so then the other thing is you have a whole bunch of fresh people in an industry, and you have an industry that's fresh, that's new. And so trying to kind of navigate all this, what you don't want to have happen is the workers get left behind. Think about it. They're handling pesticides, they're handling chemicals, they're handling a drug, they're handling something that's THC. And I know everybody thinks you feel warm and fuzzy on it, but it's you overexposed to certain things. I'm sure it's got some negative consequences to it, especially when you're dealing with having to handle the cultivation and having to handle the product itself, and having to deal with the pesticides and all the other stuff that comes around it. So it's really important for this group of workers to be represented and to make sure that their issues are taken care of. And think about it on this next scale with these workers. A city says it's okay to sell cannabis in our city. Hypothetically, let's just say this one city says, yes, you can sell, but you can't do this and you can't do that. So they make all these rules on how much it costs and how it's taxed and everything else. Well, why don't you have a couple rules to make sure those workers are not being exploited? If you're going to pass a law and you're going to pass a rule in which allows you to sell a controlled substance, well, shouldn't you make sure that there's an accountability factor for that workforce too? Make sure that those workers are not being exploited by a bunch of old, maybe not old or young drug dealers that have now legitimized and don't know how to follow rules right. That's what we're running into in this industry. Obviously, I'm the principal officer of a Teamster Local union. I'm aware of what it took for us to legalize this and the rules in which it took to get in place to help generate revenue and actually try to create a win-win-win. We just don't want the workers to be left out in that win-win-win. Obviously, revenue can be generated, jobs can be generated. You can make it legalized and obviously free up a lot of jail cells and criminal acts. But we just don't want to leave the workers behind, and so it's really important to see these workers doing what they're doing right now. So hands off to the NABIS. NABIS. Sorry for butchering it for anybody who's listening. Try not to take any offense. Last item in the news I want to talk about is there is a lot of farm workers now starting to organize again, and there's several hundred workers at a place called Wonderful Nurseries up in Central California. Actually, it's probably not quite Central California. It's Wasco, so it's a little further south of Central, but it's definitely north of Southern California. And they filed and asked to be recognized, and they're going through the process, and they're getting into a bit of a tug of war with Wonderful Nurseries, who are trying to oppose the unionization efforts. And so shout out to those farm workers. You know, you want to talk about a hard job. That's a hard job. Like, you hear all these people, oh, this, that. Like, think about it, having to pick oranges or in this one case here, I think it's pistachios, pomegranates, citrus is really the big commodities for wonderful nurseries. That's a hard job all day long, or if you say it's strawberries or whatever it may be. Farm workers, that's hard work. And crazy thing is, you know, it was a huge part of the California economy. You know, it's been a huge part of the California economy for hundreds of years. It's just the first few hundred, it was complete exploitation. And I still believe there's way too much exploitation in that space. And, you know, those nurseries need to do the right thing and make sure those workers are taken care of. So with that, that's my news. I want to move on to the next portion of our show, which you always hear me say is my favorite portion of the show, which is our Teamster Advantage partner that's going to be on. It's a place called DEAUX, and they sell donuts. And so I got to just give a quick story about donuts. But actually, before I give the story, I'm going to just quickly give a plug on our Teamster Advantage program, which is more than 1,000 small businesses are connected to our network. We're in over 26 chambers of commerce throughout the Inland Empire, and we do this for free for all these small businesses because we believe small businesses are in the same category as our members, which is the working class, and everybody's working really hard and doing the best they can to, you know, be in the middle class and try to get buy home and do the best they can at providing for their family and taking their kids to baseball and softball and, you know, and soccer and all those things. And so we want to really make sure that our communities understand the connectivity to buying local. Make sure that you don't buy your donuts from Krispy Kreme. Make sure that you buy them from DEAUX, a local place. And I always say this, yeah, you may spend a few more bucks because you know what? Someday that might be your job that you need someone to spend a couple bucks on. So spend a couple extra bucks shopping locally. And with that, we have someone from DEAUX, and you know, I am sorry, I misplaced your name.
That's okay. It's Nas.
Nas, that's right. It's Nas. Nas, thank you for coming on. We appreciate your partnership. I think you have been in business for 6 months now, and I know a lot of our members in Redlands love your place because I always get to hear about it and see posts about it. You've heard enough coming out of my mouth. Actually, you want to hear my story?
Tell me, please. Yeah, I'd love to.
So when it comes to donuts, I'm a tough critic on donuts because I was a paper boy as a kid. And I started throwing papers at 11. I lied about my age, like I did a few times about my age so I could work. And I was you're supposed to be 13 to throw. Okay. I was 11. It was a Sun Telegram at the time, which is still around, San Bernardino Sun. And it's an early morning route, 3:30. You get your papers dropped off at 3:30. You get done about 5, depending on how big your route is. 4:30 to 5:30, depending on how big your route is. At the end of my route was a donut shop. And I always exchanged a paper with the guy at the donut shop, the guy that owned the donut shop, for a fresh donut. And I almost always got an apple fritter.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a fair trade.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was. Oh, it was great. Like, paper didn't cost me anything. Right? It was an extra paper left over that got thrown on my porch. So great trade. But I was spoiled to get a fresh donut from the bakery at the donut shop at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. You know, at that age, I eat a Krispy Kreme and I go, it's not. It doesn't taste like a donut to me. It tastes like a pile of sugar. Yeah. Your donuts are really damn good. I can't remember the name of each of them, but they're really, really good. Why don't you tell us about your business? That's my donut story.
Thank you, sir. No, I love that story. And I'll tell you this, Randy, anytime you want to come by, we're in the shop at 3:30 in the morning. So you swing by at 5, drop something off. We'll give you a fresh donut. No problem.
I'm going to bring you a paper. I am doing that. This is great. Great idea, Nas. He's going to be like, hey, Randy's back again.
Hide. Everybody hide.
Right. Yeah. Beating on the window. Ding, 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 ding.
DEAUX, the whole concept behind DEAUX was that this was started as a legacy or passion project for our kids. My background is actually in healthcare. I'm a nurse anesthetist. I have an anesthesia group that contracts with surgery centers throughout Southern California. We put people to sleep. So my little tagline that I like to use is we used to put people in medical comas. Now we're putting them in food comas.
Yeah, there you go.
So our internal tagline that we have printed inside the box too is sophisticated comfort. So we want to take the comfort of donuts, the comfort of coffee, the comfort of a whole experience of what you described, and elevate it in a sophisticated way. Not a pretentious way, but just elevate it. You know, you walk into somebody's house and you walk by that room everything is plasticed off and antiquated.
Yeah, that's no fun.
That's not fun.
Right.
So we wanted
You want to go jump on it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So we wanted that elevated experience, but a comfortable elevated experience. So when you come in to the shop, as most small businesses in our area are, you come into my house. You're a guest in our house. So we wanted to have that be the driving force, and you can see it from the packaging to the donuts.
Great
to the
packaging.
flavors.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
I always believe that your arrival matters.
Right.
Like, your first impression, your arrival, you're 100% correct. I love this marketing idea of having a great looking box with good graphics, and it's kind of simple, but it's just stated. It's a really elegant look.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. When you step in those doors, you're stepping into our house. So when you come to my house, my background, I'm Armenian and Jordanian. So if you come to my house, it's now your house. If you sit at my table, that's your table. You come into our shop, it's your shop. So whatever we can do to make that experience special for you is what we want to do. So
Tell us a special donut. Like what's a
So we do.
Do you have an apple fritter?
A
version?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Prior to opening, we worked on we try to take concepts and deconstruct them to what tweak people's minds a little bit. So our apple fritter didn't come out the way we wanted to, so we're still working on it.
Oh, okay. Let me know when you got it.
Yeah, 5 a.m. Come
That's
by,
right.
I got you.
I will be. Absolutely.
But
You'd be surprised how early I get up.
Right. We do something that distinguishes us from other places is we have flavor profiles that you won't see elsewhere. We do savory donuts. So we have savory doughs that are stuffed with different things. We have an omelet donut. That omelet donut is a savory dough, like a brioche type of dough. It's filled with a soft scrambled egg, crispy bacon, Gruyere cheese, and a chipotle aioli sauce that we make in-house. We have that same savory dough that's stuffed with bacon, date, goat cheese, and cranberry, like a charcuterie instead of a savory dough. We have another one that's a pastrami, so it's mustard, Swiss cheese.
Oh,
onions, and
my.
pastrami.
Pastrami.
Yeah.
You're killing me.
Yeah. And we use high-quality ingredients. We do everything by hand. Nothing's out of the box. If you come in and you see the layout, it's completely open so that you're involved in the experience too. You see us rolling the dough. You see us mixing these things. You see us frying. You see us sweating. You see us doing all these things. We don't have anything to hide. And then the sweet side, we have, our Redlands Classic, which is a orange blossom. I have one right there for you in that small box. It's a cake-style donut with fresh orange juice that we squeeze, fresh zest.
Oh, yeah. I had one of these.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And orange blossom water. So our donuts are not too sweet. We want them to give you subtle flavors that just hit you and you're like, oh, that's good.
When I had a bite of this before, this flavor, this orange blossom, and I tried to think of what I could compare it to, and I can't.
Good.
It's that good. Like,
good.
It's like,
good.
like that's like the best orange. First of all, I've never had orange in a donut. Number one. Number two, the way the flavors came together was just unbelievable. And so those of you like oranges,
Yeah.
you like donuts.
Yeah.
There's your donut.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. We have a miso caramel banana.
Oh,
So it's a cake-style donut with fresh banana in the dough and a caramel glaze sauce.
You're killing me.
that we make and add miso to it.
James, what's your favorite donut?
I like the
Old-fashioned.
Old fashioned. Yeah, I had an old fashioned. Very good. Yeah, very good. Dan? The caramel banana. I haven't had the caramel. That sounds incredible.
It's really good. That's really good.
Oh, caramel banana. So is that one the flavor is infused in it, or is it like a pocket inside?
No, it's a cake-style donut like the
cake
orange
style, like
blossom.
this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So we put fresh banana in the dough, and it comes like a banana bread, a caramel glaze that we add miso paste to make a deeper.
You realize
richer caramel.
everybody is savoring right now. Their mouths are watering. They're going, "Oh my God, I need to stop by there."
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of the purpose of the show, right?
Honestly, I'm so happy that we sell out most of the time because when donuts lay around, I end up eating them, and it becomes a problem. So
Definitely the problem with running a food shop of some sort. You gotta. Like, well, I don't want it to go to waste.
Yeah.
I'm like that. If there's still food on my plate, or there's like I feel like I gotta eat it.
Right,
I
right.
always hear what I heard when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I just kids all over the world starving. You better eat it. You know,
Yeah.
you got to eat it all.
Yeah, that's my problem. The omelet. I'm a breakfast person, so thank God that the omelet donuts sell out every single day. Otherwise, I'd eat them.
And so the omelet donuts, that omelet, it's like stuffed, right?
It's stuffed, so
You roll it around it before you bake it.
Correct. So we make the ingredients individually, and then we take our dough, we put it inside, we roll it, fold it, proof it, fry it.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm just envisioning how good that sounds, or how good that's going to taste.
5 a.m. Come by.
Is that what time you open? Is it 5?
6:30. But for
6:30.
you,
But for me, I can knock on the door.
Yeah.
It's like that old commercial. I think it was Mervin's. Open. Hey, man.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yep.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to pull this thing off where I pull a newspaper and I come exchange it. We'll do a
anytime.
little picture or something like that. I just, I don't know. It's great. Hey, what else you want to tell me about before we wrap up here this side of the hour? Really appreciate you coming on. Number one, we really appreciate your passion for the small business community. Number one. Number two, for partnering up like you do with our members, with us, with the community. You know, the way you describe the openness of saying, hey, you know, we're part of a larger community, and I think that's what socially we've missed.
Yeah.
And we've got to get more to that, which is kind of why we're doing these types of things, is for us to connect to people like that. So thank you for opening up your business like you do, opening up a part of your home and your life, and inviting people in. Is there anything you want to finish on?
It's my pleasure. You know, thank you for having me. I know James and Daniel have been in the shop and big supporters for a very long time, and have been pushing me to get here. Not pushing me because I've resisted, but just so busy opening up the shop. But really, we want to be more than just a donut shop. You know, we want to be a staple in the city of Redlands and in this community where 50 years from now, the kids that are coming into the shop now can talk about their memories of donuts like you just did when you were a kid. We're trying to influence a whole generation of kids and their memories. They can always talk, 20 years from now, like, I grew up in this little town called Redlands where my dad, I'd get a sprinkled donut. My dad got this weird pastrami thing, but, it was the best experience ever. We're trying to connect different businesses. We do something called the Community Meet and Treat, which we started before we opened. We would rent a commercial kitchen or make donuts out of the house and go into the city and say, hey, come meet us. We want to treat you. Let's start building these relationships. And then we finally opened our shop, and now we just go into businesses and do that, where we get to connect with small businesses and highlight them and let the city either remember about these small businesses or get introduced to these small businesses.
Man, I couldn't put it better myself. Nas, thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
And this whole Teamster Advantage partnership, what did we charge you?
James said everything was free.
It is.
Yeah.
It's always a trick question for anybody that I bring up. It's what's the discount that our members get?
20%.
Oh, my, 20%. That's why we do the Teamster Thursdays or Teamster Thursdays there in Redlands, right? That's why they always want to do it at DEAUX, right?
Yeah.
20%. They always want to look at the biggest discount.
Yeah.
They don't care how much everything costs. It's about the discount,
Right.
not the cost.
Right.
It's what you feel like the deal you're getting.
Right.
So with that, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. I'm going to switch over to the back side of the hour. We're going to switch to a commercial break. This is Randy Korgan with the Worker Power Hour. See you on the other side of the break.
This is KCAA.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Korgan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Korgan, Secretary-Treasurer and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Korgan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Korgan.
Back from the break, Randy Korgan. Back from the break, Randy Korgan, Worker Power Hour. 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. We are live. Sorry for the delay on the break. We had some car right here behind me on the street that had their alarm going off, and we were trying to delay it as long as we could so that you didn't have to hear the honking. You probably heard the honking at the beginning, right before we went to break. But so the backside of this hour, we're going to talk with one of the Teamsters Local 1932 organizers, her name is Raquel Avila. And we having her on for a couple different reasons. Number one, I always love having women on this show that are powerful women that are very good at what they do, and can, I guess, boss a bunch of men around. And I'm actually going to talk about that right now and what's going on with Coachella Valley Water District. So if all you dudes out there that work at Coachella Valley Water District are listening, you could laugh because you've been working with Rock for the last 6 months. But with that, I also missed a shout out. I guess our Needles office is listening live, and it's really hot in Needles right now. So a bunch of people that are out helping. We're doing the Vietnam Wall is coming through. I think that's the event. I apologize if I messed this up, but sometimes I can't keep track of all the events in my head. But the Vietnam Wall goes down, goes from city to city, and it's in Needles right now, and so they're supporting that event there in the city of Needles, and everybody that's helping out is there right now listening live. So shout out to them as well. Hey, and I got an organizer sitting next to me. Everybody that knows me knows that organizing is where my heart has always been, trying to build this union, build working people, work with workers in their living rooms, and showing them how to work together, put their differences down, and work together to come to a common place and improve their conditions. Not to create conflict or strife. Sometimes there is some conflict that comes out of it, but for the most part, it's all with good spirit, and it's just to make sure everybody gets their fair share. And to have Rock on here in the middle of what she's doing, she was actually freaked out when I told her yesterday, you're coming on the show, because it ties in to last week's show, number one. And first of all, how proud are you of Buffy and Ducky coming on the show last week?
They both did a phenomenal job. I'm very proud of both of them.
What did you hear in them when you heard them on the show, being these individuals you've been working with for the last 6 months?
I think for the most part with Buffy and Ducky, I think they just spoke from the heart, and that to me itself speaks volumes. I think overall this committee has just done a phenomenal job, and Buffy and Ducky were able to express that in last week's show. So, how long have you been a Teamster, Rock? 2009.
Okay, so 15 years now, 15 years. And you've been involved in a lot of aspects of the union, right?
Correct.
How much do you like this organizing gig?
Oh, never realized how this is truly me. This position has given me opportunities to express my talents with different groups. And it goes back to the modules that you actually taught us back in 2009. So you were the training that we received.
Isn't it crazy to see all that training come out now?
Yeah,
like
full circle.
Those things that we talked about all those years ago, literally coming out full circle right now. So what's it like to walk workers through this process? First of all, is there anything you want to talk about yourself real quick before we get into the nuts and bolts of organizing?
Well, at this point in time, today Coachella Valley Water District has their vote. And so I'm extremely excited for them. I'm nervous at the same time. And so my emotions are definitely high. But in addition to that, I feel excited for them.
This is a great group,
This
man.
is a great
they
group.
Are just
yes.
more than 240 of them went to their last meeting. Like that's half of the unit by themselves.
Yeah.
Basically saying we're going to move in this direction. We want to do one. We want to do three. They've been well organized, and that has a lot to do with the work that you've done with them and the work that they've done working together.
Absolutely. And we've have crossed those barriers of putting down their differences, and that has been in the beginning. That's was a
full-time
struggle.
job, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they can tell you, but the committee has done a phenomenal job of just bringing that worker power together and demonstrating to where we're at today. And so it's exciting to just be a part of this journey and with them, and allowing to be led by them. We oftentimes use the tools that you have given us applied to this job, but sometimes we have to develop our own ways of organizing. But in addition to that, you have to sometimes pull me back in, because you're like, Rock, we're not there yet. You're not there yet. So every once in a while, knowing that, okay, Rock, don't want to cross certain boundaries. I have to be pulled
I know, because
back.
you wanted to. One of the things working with you through the process, you wanted to. It's easy to want to pick a fight, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, that's just natural.
Trying to get people to work together.
Yeah.
You obviously can't pick too many fights because if you pick fights in the middle of that, it's one of the things you teach the committee, right? It's about figuring out your commonalities and figuring out what it's going to take to work together, not either being right or picking a fight.
Right. And that's a struggle for me in particular, because I think you've said it in the past, like naturally you're a fighter. And, I want to change that in a sense to where like it's actually difficult for me at times, but every once in a while I get pulled back in and just realizing, okay, like, this is not the way to do it. Like there's bringing the group together and building that foundation.
All those techniques.
Yes, because at the end of the day, it's about the bigger picture.
What would you say is the toughest part of that technique of trying to bring them together? Walking them through that process.
Walking them through the process and understanding, like identifying leaders, and in identifying the leaders, sometimes others can get hurt because they weren't asked at a certain time frame to be a part of.
What about me?
Yeah, what about me? You overlooked me, and she didn't ask me first, and it's it's like, hey guys, there's a bigger picture. Like there's a bigger picture, and just it gets challenging at times as a woman, because men sometimes like to undermine us women and think they have
the upper hand.
But
so I couldn't be more proud of you. Like for you to see you lead this group of men, and there are women in the unit too, but it's primarily men,
women.
and they're rough and tumble, right?
Sure.
They're these are public works type workers,
For
and
sure.
they're not afraid to get their hands dirty, and
Right.
they're not afraid to use foul language or rough it up a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring those is to obviously, I'm sure they're all proud of that description, by the way.
Absolutely.
They, again, great group, is for you to be able to lead them through this, explaining to them what the future looks like and why it's important to work together. What's that like, just kind of being in that dynamic? You got a committee of, like 35, 30, 37,
37. Mm-hmm.
Somewhere between 35 and 40, a bunch of primarily men sitting in a room.
Right.
And you got this woman here.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do this and you need to do that. And if I know you, you're not always like, you don't always sweet talk it.
No, and you can't, because you have to be able to command the room, and you have to be able to, sometimes you have to quiet them down in some sense, and knowing that they have to allow me to take the lead, and this group has definitely done that, and they've allowed me to lead in a sense to where at one point in time we weren't sure if we truly had a direction and when we were actually going to be able to vote on merging with the Teamsters. So I'm excited for this group. It's been a long journey, I felt, and so with the guys, I'm sure the guys would, as well as Buffy.
They're like, what's next? What are we doing?
Yeah. So yeah, the committee is so pumped up, and they're so excited that we've come full circle to where we are today, and they're ready to roll up their sleeves and just get to the real work that needs to be done.
And this isn't the only organizing drive that you've been successful at. You've been successful just in the last year alone, less than a year. This is like unit number 5, right? 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
And what's it like to walk workers through that? And then obviously some of them have already now got a first contract, right? Mm-hmm. How satisfying is that for you to see people complete that journey, or to at least get to that step of the journey? Because it's not complete. It's just the next step.
It's just the next step. To be able to walk them through the process, just knowing and understanding that at the end of the day, it's worker to worker, regardless of what your rate of pay is, what your race, what your gender. It's worker to worker. And at the end of the day, we're all here. We're all part of the working class, and we have to do what's best interest for that group in particular. And so walking them through that and being able to just identify leaders, building that committee, and just being patient with some things that just come your way is just sometimes it's challenging in itself, but every group is different.
And identifying issues. In other words, don't force issues on people. Listen to them. Understand, empathize, and recognize how to achieve that. Something you said a minute ago, worker to worker. How powerful is it when you see, let's say, a worker at one of these organizing drives you've been successful on, or Coachella Valley, make a connection with another worker, another Teamster somewhere else. And then everybody kind of realizes, okay, well, this isn't like a union organizer. This is another worker. How powerful is it that you've witnessed that exchange?
That's huge in itself. And I believe, and I won't say names in particular because we're currently going through a campaign with other groups, but I have brought VOs from groups that
VOs are volunteer organizers.
Volunteer organizers.
They're rank and file members that are helping.
Actually, these have they had just been organized, so yes, they're rank and file. And I brought them to a few of my meetings out there in Coachella, and for them to hear that they are going through the process of this new group has gone through speaks volumes, because it just shows that
we're in the same boat.
Yes, and just be patient and focused, and stay steady. So. Yeah. So
a lot of years I argued with you over focusing on organizing.
Correct.
And, you're a strong-willed individual, and you have a tendency to sometimes want to do it your way.
I did.
And even though I had tried to encourage you to do things differently, now do you see why I was always pushing you in that organizing space?
I absolutely
Why?
See it. Because this is my forte. This is me. This organizer position, this role, is being able to build relationships with these individuals who don't have a voice at the table, and they just want that MOU. They just want that CBA to just be able to.
That's memorandum of understanding and
collective bargaining
agreement, right?
Sorry, yes.
That's
so that's
okay.
public and
not
private
everybody
sector.
understands the
I apologize.
acronyms.
So yes. So just understanding that's the goal, and understanding how to protect that contract and enforce it, and in learning that process, and that it's not that the employer will just give that to you. It's something that you
they never do.
No, something that you have to fight for.
They'll give you something, but it's not going to be full value.
Right, but. I will say when I first became a union member, I didn't appreciate what my CBA had in it till now. Not even back when I was back in 2010, 9.
When you were a steward and
shop
you were
steward.
active and
I always wanted
engaged in the
more.
union.
I always wanted more, and I didn't appreciate what I had till now.
Yeah, organizing teaches us how to appreciate the journey, the full journey.
Right.
In other words, going back 150 years, and like the water folks that we just had on in the Coachella Valley Water District, as an example, you go back over 100 years, and there was really. Think of how water was managed then,
right.
And the people doing the work, digging trenches, and the very difficult work that they were doing. And it not being valued, right?
Right.
So then what happens is we get into the job today, and let's say 2015 or 2010 or 2000 or for me it was 1990. You get into that job, you just don't realize that there was a 50-year history before.
Absolutely. And that's what I had taken for granted as a union member back in the day. And now as an organizer, I can now appreciate
And teach others.
and teach others how to bargain and what to bargain for, but at the same time, just be grateful for what I did have.
You know, one of the most powerful things that Buffy and Ducky said last week was they said very clearly, this is on us,
Absolutely.
what we do.
Yes.
And they understood the union concept. Look, I have a lot of pride, love my organization, but our organization is only as strong as its membership engagement is.
Yes.
And so if our members think that the union is just going to do all the work for them, processing, servicing, doing this, doing that, and they don't have to do anything, well, that means we didn't do a good enough job of educating them on the process, because the process is this. A union process is this. It's a shared responsibility. The dues don't pay to do all the work. The dues pay for the administrative aspect of having a union, the administrative aspect, processing the legal stuff, making sure that things are processed, in accordance with the MOU or enforcement or the law or whatever it needs to be. The other part of the equation is the engagement part. And so the other responsibility is on the members being engaged, and that creates the right balance. So if you were to just have dues based on the union doing all the work, then your dues would have to be, they'd have to be like $400 or $500 a month, right?
Right.
And obviously, that the best way to do it is a shared responsibility versus just writing this big check. Maybe it's better you do less work. But as we teach our kids and everybody else, the more work you do on your own where you get your hands dirty and you're part of the process, the more you respect the journey.
Absolutely. You take ownership.
That's the union process.
Right.
It's a shared responsibility.
Right. As
an organizer, you're walking people through learning that
Yeah.
right in the beginning.
Exactly. And this group, I believe the committee in itself understands the true work behind it, because they know that it's not a service that's provided. I'm not the union. I may work for the union, but I'm not the union. It's all of you that coming together. That's the union.
Hearing that come from them last week
Yeah.
means that they got the message. They understand it's them.
Yes.
The strength that they're going to have in worker power is going to be determined by them, as the work that they do, the meetings they go to, the actions they participate in,
Yes.
the shirts that they wear, the things that they're actively doing versus just money being deducted from my check.
Correct. Yep.
So what's that like now that you've been doing this for a little while? Seeing your old self that you just described. Got 5 minutes? All right.
I mean, obviously, like any person would, as time goes on, you definitely mature. You definitely evolve into a better I would say better person for me, because I had to change a lot of bad habits from back in the day. And although they may have been something negative back then, I feel personally have turned them around to something positive. And so I'm excited. I'm excited the role that I have taken with 1932. I have a lot of learning to do. I'm still learning as I go, but I'm just excited to be a part of this group and a part of this team.
We've had 4 minutes. Yeah, we've had Kathleen on here, Don Rao. We've had Denise Davis. We've had obviously a lot of very powerful women, and having you on here for me is there's a lot of personal gratitude in it, because seeing you recognize this part of kind of helping other people it's just a lot of fun. And then to see your passion, your energy, the spirit you have in you, moving all these manly men,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
in a direction that they really respect you, because you're following the plan,
Yes.
and the plan works.
It does. It does.
How does that make you feel?
A sense of pride. I mean, I've come a long way. I still have a long way to go, but I've had great mentors along the road, and thank you for that.
I've been doing this over 30 years, and I'm still, every single day, I learned something new yesterday. We all got surprised by it on what the vote's going to be
Yeah.
tomorrow, but got 3 minutes. And the best thing is to have the attitude that we're going to learn something new every day.
Yeah. And today we will learn something tonight. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait. And I know the committee's just anxious. So they're all anxious to see us there. And so just looking forward to tonight and our victory.
Their victory.
Well, altogether it's
ours. I know. I always try to say
well, it's theirs, but it's ours. Like all of us, once they join us,
I'm already
it's a family.
Teamster.
Yeah. Well, they're joining our family.
That's correct. And that was cool too. Is everybody that they reached out to, and all the other Teamsters that they had talked with, it was nothing but positive and great exchanges. And that's what it's all about. So for whatever the negative things that people are saying or said, in every process like this, you're always going to get some self-serving individuals that are going to misrepresent the facts and say things that aren't true to try to create negativity and dissuade people for their own personal interest. I always think it's funny when an employer says you don't need a union, but the employer's got attorneys, the employer's represented, got HR, got all these people to defend them all the time, and then and then say, well, you don't need it. And then they care where you spend your money. They didn't care how much you spend on your house. They didn't care what kind of car you bought. They didn't care any other way you spent your money, but they care about that little small percentage, right? Yes. I care about that 1%, how you spare that 1%. I don't care about the 99 because I could do a better job of helping you with that as an employer. But for some reason, they really care about that 1%. So we're wrapping this up. I want to thank you, Rock, for coming on today. And I really think it's appropriate for all the hard work that's gone on with this group tonight. Hopefully we have a victory to talk about on a future show. And, for those of you that know any of us, just reach out to us tonight, probably around 8, 9 o'clock. We may know right about 8, 9 o'clock when the votes are counted, whether or not it's a yes vote. It should be. But you never know. You got to wait until it happens. I got 1 minute to wrap up. And so once again, Rock, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is, I always like to end my show by talking about what you can do to build worker power. You can do the same thing that these workers in Coachella Valley are doing, and they can build worker power. You see our buses, you see our billboards talking about worker power, what Teamsters do. Think of Teamster, make sure you think of Teamster. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors on how to build worker power. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host, Randy Korgan in the Worker Power Hour, signing off.